Discord. First of all, I can set up OBS, stream it to YouTube, and share that in Microsoft Teams, as well as to share it. Okay, we should be live on YouTube now, as well as sharing it to to Discord either way. But with Discord, this is more kind of like, it's like our community where we kind of live. So having all the chat right there, dropping, you know what I mean? The comments persist for better or worse. You know what I mean? I like that aspect. There's the stream. We're back up. No, I mean, and the truth is, if everybody wanted to go to Teams, if you were like, oh yeah, Teams, maybe. I don't know. But I do like the fact that that the general chat channel has this like record of the chats, of links, of, all that stuff. And with Teams, it's like you just lose it all. Okay. Here we go. Let's do this thing. I want to talk about writing. Today we're talking about writing. Yeah, YouTube is back up. So the last time we did the writing talk, we were trying to talk about like single paragraphs. And what I wanted to talk about this time was a little bit more about kind of writing more broadly. And so one of the questions I've got, and I'm going to do like an informal poll here. If you wouldn't mind, if you're kind of on the fence, don't worry about it. But if you have an opinion, maybe drop it in the chat. Whether any of you, really, really despise writing and just life would be great if you never had to write a single word of English. That's a little extreme. But you know what I'm trying to say. You're more on that side. And the other side is like the frustrated novelist. Like you really, really have a book in you that you want to get out. You want to write sci-fi, or you want to write fantasy, or, would you mind just dropping your poll responses so I can kind of calibrate? And I know there's probably a little bit of both. Eric, I like writing, but not writing assignments. Yes, absolutely. Yeah, right. And the other thing that happens is a lot of us, maybe it was more in my generation, but in my generation, there was a lot of writing as punishment. You know what I mean? You're going to have to write a 1,000 word, essay on why I will not talk in class, or, where you take writing and you turn it into a punishment and you get some really bad scripting going on, right? Somewhere along the line, I sort of had that conversion, I guess, to writing, and began to really, really love it and really enjoy it. When you don't, anything that you don't enjoy is just painful when you're forced to do it. So you're writing like a paragraph and you're feeling like, or the famous, you got to write 500 words, and then your last 10 words are like, and therefore this is the very, very, very end of my essay, this kind of crap. And that's one of the reasons. Now, having said that, it's also true that there are different kinds of writing. There is, like the tweet. A tweet is a certain kind of writing. It's very, very short. Any kind of sort of micro blogging, Twitter, Facebook. Facebook allows you to make a long post, but it sort of socially discourages you. Twitter literally constrains you. But anytime you're going to do a certain kind of writing, it sets up for a certain kind of thrust, a certain kind of focus. And so this is why with the smallish blogs, I'm saying one paragraph just because I want you to focus and exercise on the task of understanding how to do the one paragraph, which we're going to talk just a little bit about. And, and so Eric just said, a lot of English class feels like writing nothing. You're writing for writing's sake, Fair, totally fair. One of the things that I'm trying to do, you'll notice, I hope, and Eric, I'm curious to know if you feel like, given that comment, which I agree with, if you feel like we're accomplishing something different here. Because the reason I'm going to say topic of the day is privacy, or topic of the day is entrepreneurship, or cybersecurity, whatever, that you get to pretty much pick anything that hooks you that you want to express within that broad topic. And I'm pretty dang forgiving as far as the topic is concerned, because I'd like it to be ideally something that your heart is kind of hooked to just a little bit, and sometimes we struggle to write because we struggle to think. And I don't mean that to sound wrong. There's probably no way around that. It might just sound wrong, but I'm not trying to be insulting, but I am trying to say that sometimes we aren't practiced or exercised at thinking about the world around us. Maybe we just react, but we don't think, or maybe we just don't even notice it. I am trying to, kind of nudge you toward a bit more analysis about a lot of things. That's why we start with the orders of ignorance, But again, the reason I'm giving you the small paragraph and saying, no, make it short, make it focused, have it be about one thing, is to practice and exercise that thing, because that is one thing. That is absolutely a certain thing. There's a longer essay, which is the book-inspired essays are intended to be longer. So, yeah, thanks, Eric. My goal is to have it be as open as it can possibly be. But I think that if you're looking around, if you're, right now, man, computers in the context of society, or society in the context of computers, incredible. I mean, incredible that just the things going on, that there are things that people with no tech background are talking about, like cyber, like cryptocurrency. People are talking about Bitcoin, or they're talking about crypto, or they're talking about just people that are just whatever. Joe the electrician's talking about crypto. And then you're rolling in just going, yeah, so blockchain, and you actually know, maybe eventually something about that, right? So it's amazing to me that we're in this situation. So that's what this is all about. I was thinking about my own writing thing. And so I wanted to show you just a couple of the things. Let me see how to do this. No, I'm going to wait on this. I'm going to wait on that. Okay, so what I wanted to do, I went looking. I had some slides. I have some slides, but I'm not going to show them. I just wanted to use them as sort of my own reference material to guide the conversation. But there's a couple of things relative to writing. So I think, there are at least a few of you that are, the frustrated novelist, somebody that wants to be a writer. Let me see. And then Eric, in terms of, you just made the comment, great comments today, Eric, by the way. Conciseness being a function of time, it's true. And you've been so busy that yours have, kind of been low quality. And I would say that there's a lot of things in life that, what am I going to try to say? I'm going to say that actually doesn't start with you being busy, but I think it starts with you not enjoying the verbal process, and therefore it's easy to go, good enough, I'm moving on, call it busy. But people like me that are frankly obsessive, and I don't mean that in a great way necessarily, right? But I'm just saying that are obsessive that way. We don't have time, but we can't help it. We can't just slop it and throw it out there. But that's like an obsessive thing. It's a little OCD, maybe not extreme, and maybe not, maybe more high functioning. You know what I mean? But it is a form of that kind of OCD tendency to need to get the words right before I can send the email or the text or the whatever. And but one of the things that I wanted to sort of just illustrate. And again, and Eric, and I don't mean that in any way as a criticism. I just mean that as an understanding that for people that have that sort of obsession, time's really irrelevant because you have to do the thing. You have to spend the time to do the thing. And if it's not, then and it feels like you don't have time. I don't know if that makes sense. And I think it's actually a truism about a lot of things. But no, is that really true? 3 to 7 hours, Taylor? Or whoever you are? Wow, okay. That's a lot. I just want to say that's a lot. But I think, anyway, yeah, right. No, okay. So here, okay, Eric, thank you. You know, when you said you're crazy busy and then you put a lot of time into Reddit comments. Right, exactly. It comes down to motivation. And that's why I wanted to understand what motivates you to write. And okay, what I really like, Eric, you're like winning, Eric's winning the chat threads today. Just FYI, everybody, you're going to have to up your game if you're going to try to compete with Eric today anyway. But no, it really strikes at the heart of we take the time on the things that we just care about. So if it's Reddit, then you just take the time because you care. And if it's Twitter or if it's texts or if it's, you know, and it might even just be writing in general, which is kind of more me, you know. And I wanted to show you something actually that illustrates this. Let me find this real quick. Because sometime back when I was doing this elsewhere, I was just intrigued. Now this is back in the days. Hang on, let me find this thing real quick. This was back in the day when Twitter was, there we go. When Twitter was strictly 140 characters, it's a little bigger now. Now I'm gonna drop this over here and I'm gonna try to blow this up. It's not great resolution, but what I did was I was doing teaching writing like this in the 404 class, right, over at the Y. And I had a Twitter exchange with Edward Tufte. Now, Tufte is like one of my heroes. One of the things I love about Twitter and social media is the ability periodically to directly interact with somebody, who's far more, I don't know, whatever. He's your hero. You're somebody that you really respect or whatever. And I had met Tufte in person. So I'd met him and had a really cool conversation. But this was Twitter, and I'm sure this is horrible to try to read. But what I really wanted to illustrate, there's no audio on this thing. I'm just going to play this. But what I wanted to just illustrate was I decided to just run some screen capture when I was on Twitter one day, and I just decided I'm going to start a screen capture. What do I normally use for that? ScreenFlow. And I just decided to start a ScreenFlow and decided to just let it roll. Thank you for the "Someone is Wrong on the Internet." That's a classic XKCD. But, I thought this was going. So I was on this, so I decided to start ScreenFlow, and then I just wanted to capture, without really being deliberate about it, what my own writing process was, right? Because that is not even going. Come on. Everything's a technical problem today for me. Incredible. Okay. Nah, hang on a second. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Everything. QuickTime. What do I want to play this in? It should work. It should work on stinking QuickTime. Yeah, that should be the right one. Okay, well, the other thing I can do is try to manually Advance. I'm getting the spinning beach ball of death on my freaking QuickTime player. Come on. Wow. Okay, I think it's actually working now. Maybe. This is what we've been for. I am force quitting my QuickTime player. That is what this has come to. Clearly, I've got to reboot my entire stinking laptop after 2810 because those students are just ruining everything. I think we'll blame them. Hold tight. I'm not giving up on this. I'm sorry. This is just, it's absurd, but I'm not going to quit. No. Okay, here we go. All right, let me try to make this a little bigger. But again, what I was trying to do, if this thing will actually play. Seriously, what is the problem? Okay, I have one other approach, then I think I might have to like just kill the whole idea. And since I've been focused here, I'm not even watching the comments going by. You know, I swear to you, 10 minutes before we launched class, I was just going, okay, I got this. That'll be great. I even had that tone of voice when I said that to myself in my head. Wow, 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 wow. That's just staggering. Staggering. Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna do. I'm about to. Hey, I'd like to thank everybody for their patience today. Thank you so much. So dumb. I'm actually gonna try one more thing because I'm just so dang stubborn. I literally am dropping this thing into PowerPoint, hoping that the internal PowerPoint player will actually work, which it I think it actually is working, believe it or not. So let me try to reiterate what I was trying to do was, maybe it's not working. Anyway, what I was trying to do was I had this exchange going with Tufty. And you know how thrilling it is when, so Tufty's my hero. He did a couple of books that I love, called The Visual Display of Quantitative Information. Boring title, life-changing book, which I think I've maybe did I hold that up to you at some point in the past? I think maybe I did. Anyway, so okay. So I'm breaking up for everybody now? Frick! It's a curse, my friends. It's a freaking curse. Okay, let me get rid of this. Am I still a toaster? I don't even know what a toaster sounds like, but am I still one? Hey, by the way, Michelle, my laptop is actually not old. All right, I'm back to clear. Audio's back online. Thank you. Thank you for whoever gave me the drumsticks. Okay. Well, bag that. So frustrating. My gosh. Okay. Well, I better just stick to words. I'll show you that later. I'll fix my problems. Okay. Man, should we just break for popcorn? Should we just break for popcorn? You know what else is bad? My AC broke. So it's like it's getting hot in my office, and I think it's affecting my computer. I don't know. VLC media player. Yeah, that's it. Okay, let me do a couple things. I'm going to talk about writing, shall we? This all just feels so worthless at this point. Okay, let's do it. Number one. So I went looking, hit a couple dozen different sites, trying to find what I considered to be key bits of advice. Key bits of writing advice that I wanted to talk about. Number one, and this was just, if you want to go check this, actually, I'll throw that link into the chat stream, just so that's the page I'm showing you right now. And then we should probably also blow that up. Seriously, I think all of our trouble started when we tried to run an experiment with Discord to see what would happen if we got too many people on. Something, it's all fun and games until someone gets hurt. This first one right here, set up a writing schedule and stick to it. If you want to be a writer, or even if you just want to be a better writer, this is just more huge than I can possibly even really explain. Not only should you set up a writing schedule, but in my view, it ought to be just about the first thing you do, because everything clogs up. And one of the things that happens, the zebra cakes, Erica, the zebra cakes. One of the things that happens anybody can confirm or deny here. You wake up in the morning and if the first thing you do is look at your phone and just check something, texts, social media, whatever your thing is, whatever you happen to be doing, Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter, email, whatever, right? If you wake up and the first thing you're doing, which I'm doing more of that than I wish I was right now, but you start and your brain starts just clogging immediately. But if you can somewhere in the early part of your day, pick a certain time, same time of day, okay? Same time, same place, same rhythm, same structure, and write. So one of the things I did for I don't know, at least 6 months, I was working on a book, and I was on faculty at BYU, and I was riding the bus to campus at that point. And what I would do is I found some areas in the library, and for the bus stop, between the bus stop and the Talmadge building at BYU, where the CS department is, was the library in between. So I would just get off the bus, and before I made it to my office, I would go to the library. And then I would just sit down in a certain cube, and I didn't have Wi-Fi. In that spot, there was like no Wi-Fi or something. So I would sit down where all I had was my laptop, and it was like no interruptions. Nobody can find me here. I would like silence my phone or airplane mode it or something like that, you know? And I got a lot of progress doing that. But something that I recommend, so this is one of the books that I've written. It's a page turner. It's called IRTA Principles and Protocols. It's about infrared data communications. So a la the IRTA standards, which was what was in the Palm Pilot, so as a point of reference. So I happen to know a lot about that. And I wrote this book. It's not the biggest book I've been involved in. It's less than 200 pages. But I wrote this book literally in 1 hour a day, 6 days a week for a year. 1 hour a day. No binging. When we were formatting at the end, there were a couple of days of binging. You know, wrapping everything up, doing final edits, stuff like that. But the actual core writing of the book was an hour a day, every day for, 6 days a week for a year. So what is that, 300 hours? So 10 weeks, if that were work weeks kind of thing? No, 300 hours would be, what's that, divided by like 56 work weeks, something like that. So, but here's the other real key. For those of you that are wondering, like, how can you write for an hour a day? You lose track. This is a true bit of testimony on my part about writing like that. I read about it somewhere and decided to just try it. But it turns out that if you have this big project, because you know how you're sitting around waiting for a big block of time to drop on you, and you can't quite do it, you can't quite get to it. Same thing with writing your blog posts. If you're going to spend 5 hours on a blog post, spend an hour one day. You know what I mean? Work on that for an hour, then stop. Hit it again the next day at the same time. Hit it fresh. Turns out if you just do that and it's the same time, same place, and especially if you don't try to finish your thought, don't try to wrap up your thought, just stop. Wherever you are, mid-sentence, stop. And then the next day when you sit down, and this seems like too risky to attempt, but if you sit down and then pull up your laptop, you'll be right there. You'll be right where you were, and you'll drop straight back into flow, which is kind of amazing, but that's really true. So if anybody's, let me see. So yeah, if anybody is interested in doing, larger writing, or you just have a big writing project that you've got to try to get through, an hour a day, pick a time every day to do that. The first book I ever actually published was this one, which was the NetWare Workstation Troubleshooting and Maintenance Handbook, where I wrote it with 2 other guys. Not a huge book at all. Well, 250 pages, but I only wrote a third of it. So what's that, 80? And that was a little bit more like, binging after work, kind of thing. But this one was amazing because I wrote it in an hour a day. That was what was kind of amazing about that one. Then here are the other extremes before I really figured a lot of that out. This is my master's thesis, which felt big at the time. It's 67 pages. 67 pages. That is jack. Double spaced. Are you kidding? Look at that. I wrote this in 11 evenings after work. Binged. That was binge. Like crazy. And then this is my dissertation, which is about 300 pages. Yum. It's really fun reading. But 300 pages, this one I wrote in 40 Saturdays in 1997. 40 Saturdays. What I'm trying to say is, I've written, so these are all kind of like books, but I did another book based on my dissertation for Addison Wesley that didn't actually, long story, didn't see the light of day. I have another book that's actually on the web, and it needs to be updated, but it's called Digital Mists of Darkness. And I have an unpublished first cut sci-fi novel, and that's not bragging, other than to say it's a cool thing to just get a manuscript done doing anything. You know what I mean? It might even suck, and it's still pretty significant just to get it done. Just to say I finished writing my own sucky first draft of a novel. That's quite an accomplishment. And I did the same thing with that. There was a point where I'd kind of piddled around for a while, and I was like, okay, I've got to get this thing done. Boom. Like 8 o'clock a.m. or 9 or whatever the morning time was, every morning 1 hour. And I finished like the second half of that novel in an hour a morning as well, following on the heels of the Erta book. That one probably will never see the light of day, but it doesn't matter. Everybody's got a certain number of, anybody who wants to really be a serious novelist has a certain number of sucky novels in them, and they have to purge those out of themselves first. Okay? And then, so Franklin, you gotta allocate another hour. You need another hour. Okay. Let me see. Yeah. I liked what Denver just said about just kind of needing to get those thoughts out. Yeah, when you have that compulsion, that's when you're really in the sweet zone. That's when you're very much in the sweet zone. Anyway, just wanted to share those experiences with the fact that you don't have to wait for a big block of time to drop on you, okay? There were some studies that were done some years back where they took controls, which were just writers, and these were mostly academics who were trying to write, academic papers and stuff like that. And they did they basically just had the control group, where was it? Yeah, the control group just didn't change anything. Do what you always do. And then it was over some extended period of time. And then there was another group that allocated a certain time of day and wrote 15 to 30 minutes a day. 15 to 30. And at the end of that stretch of time, the group that had always done it the way they always did, 15% of them had finished a manuscript, as in, some manuscript that they could to submit a paper to a journal or whatever. 15% doing, and these were professors doing what they just already normally did. The group that changed to write for 15 to 30 minutes a day at the same time of day, 100% of them had actually completed manuscripts. And then they did, I don't know if this was the same study, but it was same researcher, I know that, where they did this thing and ran a study like that over the course of a year. And the controls, people just doing the way they always did it, they had 17 pages written or revised per year. The experiment, the treatment group with 30 minutes a day at the same time was 64. So, what is that? A factor of 4. But making a commitment, just think about this for a second, making a commitment to write 15 minutes a day. And then they upped it one more level, which was having an accountability partner, right? And everybody by now kind of knows the value of having a trusted accountability partner for anything. And the trusted accountability partners, the number jumps to 157, so more than doubles the other group. So, and becomes about an order of magnitude more productive from what the average professor does like today. So, I mean, that's just fascinating. So again, if you want to be a writer, you want to do more writing, or you've got writing classes that involve writing, you know what I mean? And you struggle to do it. If you can allocate, every day at 8 a.m. or every day at 9 p.m., right? My master's thesis, I wrote in those 11 evenings after work. I would start on average about 7 p.m. and end on average about 2 a.m. And I'd just get up and go to work the next day. That was way late into the evening. And at that point, I was a little more of a night owl. So it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. It can be later in the day. But if you just budget, a fixed time that works for you in the same place where there are no interruptions. That's the other key. Nobody can be bugging you, knocking on the door, you know what I mean? Whatever. Kids rolling in, roommates playing their music, whatever. Okay? Okay, so that's just a few things about setting a schedule and sticking to it. The next one is a starting ritual. And this doesn't really matter what it is. You know what I mean? Like, for example, and this is really valuable if you take a look at it. And again, this can also help you with homework. But again, if you got like a writing thing that you're trying to do, maybe there's maybe there's ginger tea that you don't drink at any other time, if it's something like, then I get my morning coffee or whatever, that's a little more generic. So ideally there's something unique to, like you get your ginger tea and your granola bar and you're at your desk. As you're making the ginger tea, your brain kind of gets used to the fact like, we're going to be doing some writing, right? We're going to be doing some writing. And so that's the starting ritual. And then they recommend, running a 10-minute free writing session so you start a timer and you just start dumping about whatever. And it's all just throwaway, or it can be just in a little dumpage journal or whatever. Aiden, that is not a starting ritual. That is a bailing ritual. Let me see, what else? The third one, this, again, of all the things I looked at, this was the sort of the advice that I liked the most, and I'm feeding it from some of the other stuff I've got that are not on this site. This is about improving your focus by limiting the digital distractions. 'Cause that is the brutal part. All of a sudden, ding, you're like, oh yeah, and then boom, you're gone. You're lost, okay? Avoiding multitasking relates to that. Drop in, some of us are really, really distractible. It may come as a shock to you that I am distractible. But you're gonna have to just trust me on this. What else? That's avoid multitasking. Designing, no, ignore that. I'm at the bottom. Designing your environment. Again, figuring out that environment that does the thing. One of the things that I do when I'm really struggling to get productivity, you know what I mean? It's like I got an hour, but it's like it's going to take me 40 minutes just to get into the material. I'm not going to be productive. A lot of times what I'll do is just clear the desk space, which I'm doing a really bad job of right now. But if the desk space is cleared, I will literally sometimes just take a box when I'm really got to get something done, take a box and indiscriminately take everything and just move it into a box and just set the box under the desk or something so the desk surfaces are emptied. And then, Aiden, stop. You're just you're killing me. Now, actually, Aiden, if that is your best writing environment, then you have some bigger issues. But what that does is it clears the desktop of your mind and the brain clears out, and then you can do stuff. When all the clutter is happening, you know what I'm talking about, right? When you get the, let me see, I have one that I wanted to show you. Yeah, like this. You know, if this is your world, right? If that's your world right here, I don't even know what this is, right? But if this is what your world looks like, and I've seen a lot of professor offices that look like this. This is what Aiden's bedroom looks like. I know that. So I'm just saying that you cannot. Your brain, your brain is occupied. It's probably like trying to get work done with 100 tabs open in your Chrome browser. It's similar. Okay, what else? Design your environment. Compose a fat outline. That's one where you don't just lay out the things. You say a little something about each. That's not a bad one for certain things. This one here, number 7. Okay, number 7 is important, and I wanted to talk about it particularly because this is what I am trying to get you to do in your one paragraph. Okay, I'm not really talking about hamburger paragraph structure, but it is true that there's that old writing thing that's like, tell them what you're going to tell them, then you tell them, then you tell them what you told them. That's just bull crap. Dr. K says bull crap. But this I've discovered when I find really great written paragraphs or statements, they do this. First of all, they lay out a context so you understand why you care. Then they kind of give you the content, and when they do the conclusion, it's not in conclusion and then they summarize what they just said. It's just like you conclude with the punchline. You end with the boom factor, right? So this is what I'm trying to get you to do in your paragraphs, in the blog posts, okay? If you're rambling from there, I was looking at some of them today, and some of them it's like you're meandering. It's like I say a thing, then I say the next thing, and I'm just going, you're like that dog, right? And what's the movie, Up? You're just kind of like squirrel, 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 squirrel. And they're all like, maybe they're all the same squirrel, but they're moving and they're meandering, but they're not really setting up a context and delivering a punchline. They're more just like rambling through a space. Oh, look. If somebody wants to find Flight of the Conchords doing freestyling, what was the name of that one? Somebody want to find that and post it? Flight of the Conchords. What is it? Jermaine is doing, he's freestyling. Sometimes your paragraphs look like that, okay? Again, if you're going to do something big, track your progress. If you're trying to do something more technical, if you can find a venue in which to give a talk about it or to talk to somebody else about it, it really does clarify you're thinking about something. And then at the end of the day, accountability partner is huge to try to get a good accountability partner. That includes writing groups. And then getting and giving peer feedback. That's part of why I'm trying to have you leave comments on each other's blog posts. That part of that is, I'm not necessarily asking you to critique the writing of other people. I'd like it to be more just for the people leaving comments, it's your opportunity to just see how other people write. So you can look at it and go, yeah, that's really good. I got to up my game. Or, oh, wow, it could be worse. It's context for your own writing. And when you're the person doing the writing, other people are going to leave you comments, right? So that's why that's there. So what I want you to note is of these things, I am specifically requiring you to try to do number 7 with the paragraphs. And 10, I'm encouraging you, but 11 is also, those are actually like points for those things. These other things are just, strong encouragements to help you with your writing. Let's see. Was there another thing I wanted to just say? And by the way, any other comments? Let me see. Okay, here is a quote, and I want to actually, let me do it like this. I'm going to throw this up here for you. And then I'm going to pivot to one last thing, and we'll kind of end on that. I'm going to be committed to ending on time. Yeah, so here's a great quote. I don't know if you can see that well enough. Okay? The usual paragraph should be long enough to complete a thought, short enough to give the reader some visible sense of relief, and middling enough not to look odd alongside its fellows. I like this. Okay? Short enough to make you kind of go, oh yeah, boom, I can read that. I'm not afraid by this big. You ever like, you know, you go to read something and then you see the size of it and you're like, yeesh, you know, you don't even want to start, right? But if you look at it, you go, oh yeah, I can read that, right? And, but long enough to complete a thought, but not so long that you're rambling from thought to thought to thought, okay? So what I want to throw down for you is, here we go. I would like to invite you to think about the following. Where are we at? And if we were together, we could do this thing more like a workshop kind of a thing. I'm just going to show you one slide, and I want to discuss the idea of a key sentence, okay? Some of you in your you know, writing stuff. Anyway, you've heard different things. I want to talk for just a second about key sentences. All right, and I'm just going to throw this up. This should. It's kind of a partial on a slide, okay? So a little bit like topic sentences, but what I've noticed is I did some writing workshopping on existing things that I had written, and I realized that in my good writing, there was always a sentence that was kind of the gist. It was kind of like the core punchline of what the paragraph was really trying to be like. And so topic sentences, you know, do these things. You've maybe had this in other writing classes, you know, express the topic, you know, stand alone. They're standalone. There's no dangling pointers. They don't point outside of itself and say things like, you know, refer to this or that or things like that. But a key sentence does not have to be the topic sentence. Okay, it doesn't have to be first. It doesn't have to be the first sentence. But I want to just show you one example from some other writing workshop stuff that I'd seen. I want you to just look at this for a second, give that a read, and tell me which paragraph, which sentence you would say is the key sentence. And I'm just kind of waiting for you to have a chance to read it, and the way you can do that is give me like, you know, quote and like the first 2 words or, you know, 3 words or whatever of the sentence. So Denver said the very last part, which I think you mean the last sentence. Brickmeister said, I think it's try thinking that sentence. Try thinking of paragraphs as having 2 parts. We got a vote for. We got a couple votes for the first sentence. We got 1 vote for the last sentence. Another vote for the first sentence. No, I'm going to tell you why. You know, continue to drop your ideas here. We got a lot more votes piling up for the first sentence. I'm a fan of the first sentence as well. And I'll tell you, in my view, it has to be either the first sentence or the last sentence. Okay? And the reason, and therefore, sorry, Aiden, man, Aiden, we have to have a conversation. Because look, the first sentence goes, try thinking of paragraphs as having two parts, the issue and the discussion. It really does kind of set it up. The next sentence tells you about the issue. The next sentence tells you about the discussion. They're clearly subservient to the first one that goes, look, there's two parts to this thing. There's an issue and a discussion. And then the next two sentences are about the issue and the discussion. So they can't be the key sentence because there's sort of, two ideas here, and it's really the contrast. The last sentence says, therefore, the issue promises, the discussion delivers. So, Denver had said he thought maybe the last sentence. The first one is about try thinking of paragraphs as having these two parts. And the last sentence is that these other two people, I don't know who they are, but they're clearly referenced in the broader context of the essay that this paragraph came out of, actually gave you more of content. The issue promises, the discussion delivers. So I think there's a nice, strong case to be made for Denver's idea that the last sentence is the key sentence, because it not only deals with the two things, but actually gives a little more meat about them. The first one is about how you should think about it that way. So I think there's a good case to be made for either one. Okay. In this particular workshop, the sense was that, but again, I think that I'm not like that wins, right, necessarily. I think that and let me do one more. Let me try to see if I can get one that's short. Let's go. Yeah, I'm going to go with this one. So same exercise. Take a look at this and, throw out what you think the key sentence is. And then when you've got it, I guess we could go, there are only 4 sentences, so you can either go 1, 2, 3, 4, give it a number, or the first couple words so we can recognize it. So, we've got a couple votes for sometimes sentence number 2. No, there's actually 5 sentences. Sorry, there are 5 sentences. And we got a vote for number 3. We are likely. Aiden, you're just messing, man. Aiden, you're just freaking troll. It's true. So, but it's all good, man. If it keeps you engaged, it's all good. Yeah, okay, so let's take a look at this thing. So it's difficult to know how we learn best. To me, it's too broad to be a key sentence. Sometimes we learn better from demonstration, sometimes from explanation. It kind of depends. That, to me, is a candidate because, again, I'm setting up, sometimes it's A and sometimes it's B, and it depends. So that kind of feels like that. Then the next sentence goes, we're likely to learn more when we watch a demonstration if this happens. Well, we're only talking about one of the 2 ideas. Then it's like, we're more likely to learn from demonstration if this is true. And then the next one's, on the other hand, we'll learn from an action better under this condition. So to me, all the other things are sort of like explanatory. They're drilling down. But the key sentence to me, in my view, has to be number 2. I don't remember what it actually had in the little presentation thing. This was not my original creation, which I would never, of my own volition, choose that PowerPoint template. I'm sorry. I would never do that. But anyway, in your paragraph, when you do your own blog post, there ought to be a key sentence that you can look at. You know what I mean? And sort of recognize, you should be able to look at it. And what's really interesting, I did a workshop once with other professors in a long story, but I did a workshop where I brought a handful of my own published papers. And what was kind of remarkable to me was that whenever I had a section of like 5 paragraphs, it was actually completely consistent. In the first paragraph that introduced a section, the last sentence was always my key sentence. And then in every paragraph other than that in the section, it was always the first sentence. I didn't design it that way. I was just trying to write the best I could. And when I finally looked at it, it was 100% of the time. So on the very intro, it was all about the context was so important. We set up, we blah, blah, blah. This is important. Here's why we care. Da, 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 da. And then I would, conclude the first paragraph with, and therefore, here we go. And then, I would talk about A. The thing about A is really blah, blah, blah. Supportive material. Next paragraph. The thing about B is supportive material. Next paragraph. And I just naturally did that. And I also noticed that when I looked at my own writing with papers I'd published, and whenever I was like, I really like this paper, that's well written, I would always see that. I would always see it. And it wasn't like I was trying to be that way, but anyway. So when you do the longer post, which is going to happen when you get to the book-inspired posts are meant to be 3-4 paragraphs, okay? Look back at your own posts that you've done and just ask yourself, is there a key sentence? If there's more than one key sentence, you've got 2 paragraphs trying to basically, find that, make their way out. You know what I mean? If you can't find one, then maybe there's no point. If I think there's 7 sentences and 5 key sentences, then you're probably trying to do too much. You're rambling and doing too much. Okay? Let me see. Last thought. The only other thing I really want to just say, we're out of time, is write it and sleep on it. Don't sleep instead of writing, Aiden. But write it, sleep on it, hit it again with fresh eyes. Separate. And you'll be way, way, way better if you do that. So we're over time or out of time, whatever. We're on time. No, wait. Are we? Yeah, that's right. Sorry, I was looking at a different thing. But it's time to stop. So be better writers. Whether you want to be a writer or not, you're going to have to write an email here and there, explain yourself, giving your own accountability for an annual review. You're going to need to be better writers than you are right now. Always. No matter how good you are, everybody needs to be a better writer. And it's going to impact your career. If you think you're only going to write code, you're really, really mistaken. As a software engineer, you're going to write a lot of English words. Okay? Or elsewhere, if you go be a software engineer where that's not the language. But I'm just saying, writing English is something you're going to do a crap ton of in your career, even if all you want to do is be a coder. There you have it. And my last little speech is, sometimes if you can write the right email or write the right memo, then you get to do the great project. And if you didn't sell it, they don't buy it. The company dies. But you could have saved them, but you couldn't express it. You've got to be able to, if you don't want to be the last person on the chopping block when the layoffs hit, be able to communicate and sell yourself. So that's it, my friends. Sorry for the stupid problems. I swear I'm going to actually reboot after 2810 next week on Tuesday. I'm tired of this. Okay, that's it. I'm going to be around for just a couple minutes, but I'm going to shut everything down right now.